Record to this computer. Okay. Hello, everyone. It's Sheen Trades, co-founder of Traderlink, and today's class will be based upon Vanna exposure. So starting with Vanna exposure, what is it? It is the sensitivity of an options delta with respect to volatility or implied volatility. So after getting through the basic definition, how do I read the damn chart and how does the effect impact price action? So there are certain things in order to remember what Vanna exposure is and how it affects it, right? So once again, everyone kind of understands the basics of what it is. So we're going to get into how to actually use the data because I think that's the most important. Let's talk about Vanna's impact and where, okay, that's a really straight cut. Let's talk about Vanna's impact and essentially why it works so well. Let's go to a black screen. Unnamed, leave. Nothing, perfect. So with Vanna's curve, how does it work? Let's say it looks something like this, right? Sort of like a sideways S. I think that's the best thing I've drawn so far. God damn, if I can draw a line here. Okay, close enough to straight, right? You guys get the point. And then we'll draw a spot price right down the middle, right? So this is spot price. I didn't even look at EOD. I'm glad I walked away today. I'm so happy I called that shit in the morning and fucking disappeared off the face of the earth because that shit was utterly a perfect call in the morning to fuck off for the day. So, where is Vanna's impact most impactful, right? This is at the money because it's at spot price. This we will call out the money, right? And this we will call in the money or technically out the money as well, right? They can go both ways, right? Just depending on which side you're looking on. Right? In the money, out the money, in the money, out the money. Right? Oh, yeah. If you have a screenshot, you can send it over to me since I wasn't looking. But anyways, continuing with this, Vanna's impact. Where is it most impactful? It's around a 0.2 or 0.2 or negative 0.2. Actually should have drawn the curve like this. Sorry. Not looking at it, but you guys get the point. Pretend this is that looks like a 6. Pretend this is 0.2, right? And pretend this is negative 0.2. Or you can do 0.8 or negative 0.8, whichever one, right? Send them a stream time code. But anyway, continuing with this, right? Obviously, as we know, with gamma's impact and gamma's curve, it is most impactful at the money. But with Vanna, it is the exact opposite. It's out the money / in the money. So obviously most impactful here, most impactful here. When the deltas hit a 0.2 or 0.8, and vice versa for plus minus, right? This, I hope everyone kind of understands this. How you can view the options delta, you just open up your broker, find out the options delta, right? The next step is what do we pay closest attention to? For me, I look for Vanna strikes with very big exposure. So I want to see exposures being at the highest point or impact when they look like this. I guess I should maybe use the color of, right? Something like this, right? Where it's at the peak, essentially, right? And it can be vice versa. Maybe it goes up, maybe it goes down, but just for this example, this is what it looks like, right? I look for high exposure levels. And from there, right? So step one, we'll draw it out. Actually, I can just do one, right? So one is high exposure strikes. High exposure strikes. Right? After high exposure strikes, what's the next step? Next step is determine whether or not those high exposure strikes are at a 0.2 delta, right? Are they at their peak? Are they at peak? Question mark, right? If they are at the peak, what is the next step? All right, we'll do yes, Oh, actually, we'll do no first. No, then it doesn't matter. Well, you guys can kind of understand that, right? So if they're not at their peak, I could care less. If they are at their peak, what's the next step? Are they above or below spot price? Above, right? Slash below. You can do this positive or negative, right? What is the next step after that? Number 4, grab your cheat sheet. Very, very simple, right? Oh, shit. Should have pasted it. Save as desktop. Open, save. Let me open that up. Desktop, this one. All right. Next step after is to look to your cheat sheet. All right. So look cheat sheet. Right. So for this example, where did that image go? Let's say we have negative above, right? Obviously it's above, so negative above, and we go through the different things on the cheat sheet, right? Just very simple. Make sure you always keep a screenshot of the cheat sheet. It's in the Discord, it's pinned. There's multiple variations of this one. I just use this because it's simpler. I don't need anything else really. This works perfect for me. You just go step by step. What is Vanna? Negative below, positive below, positive below, positive, or, just go column by column. It's very easy. Next step, after all this, right? Whether you determine whether it's above or below, is it positive or negative, right? Everyone kind of understands this. I can erase all this, right? Can I erase all this? Chat confirm before I erase it. Confirm? Okay, cool. One person's good enough for me. Okay. So everyone understands this. So moving on, right? The next step is to determine whether or not volatility is increasing or decreasing, right? Is vol up slash down, right? How do we do that? There's 2 ways. So first way is VIX, right? Second way is IV, right? On the options chain, IV option chain. Oops. Right. There are certain reasons why I like each of them. With IV on the options chain, the first reason that I like it is because it's a fixed number. It's not so much up and down and whatnot. It's a fixed number. You can kind of determine whether or not, 10 minutes ago, what was the number? You just check your options chain. But I mostly use VIX. So we're gonna go with VIX today. I think VIX is a more how do I put it? Not more reliable, but you can potentially predict what will happen to IV, right? There are certain ways to do that. You can use fibs for VIX. You can use certain supports, right? And you can kind of make a prediction, obviously understanding price action, what it may or may not do, right? Let's just go on a bigger time frame for easier purposes. So what can you do to determine how VIX will either bounce or flush, right? What I watch for is I like using fibs for VIX. I think it's it respects it decently enough. So if you had gotten here, right, this is the high. So we'll use it for right here because obviously we're past that. So hit replay mode when we're like right here after we've moved up, right? What can you make the assumption on VIX? Does it have good odds to pop back up, or does it have better odds to flush? Obviously, if I'm looking at this point, I think VIX has a good chance of popping up, meaning volatility will increase, right? VIX is going to go up, meaning vol goes up, right? So that's how we kind of determine it with that image. Does that make sense, guys? I hope that makes sense. Intraday wise, it's very possible to do the same thing. Remove drawings, go out of replay mode. So let me see. Where is a good point to view this? Okay, right here. What day is this? January 31st. Okay, here we go. This one right here. VIX popped up. Before that, high was right here, right? Boom. Good reason as to see why, or a good area for VIX to bounce. That's why sometimes, occasionally on chat, you'll hear me, or in streams, you'll hear me say, I think VIX has a good chance of pushing up here, right? This is how I do it. There's nothing else because there's obviously no VP. You can use different supports, right? Per se, if you want supports, right? Right here, good area for VIX to bounce up, right? I guess right here would be the next one. Right? Obviously, it seems to hold this area from all the way even back here, right? So you kind of have a gauge of where VIX can potentially pop. So VIX will probably flush tomorrow, meaning SPX can push up, and then it'll probably, you can potentially find where SPX can kind of, I guess, dump. The basic correlation, if people don't know, for VIX is SPX up, VIX goes down, and vice versa, right? But continuing with the topic of essentially how to utilize it, right? We kind of went over it, right? The impact. So step one is, I forget step one already. I didn't have it write down. I can just go through it. Oh, highest exposure strikes. Next thing is, are they at their peak? If they are at their peak, step three is determine whether or not it's above or below spot. Is it positive or negative? Step four is to go to the cheat sheet, right? Step five, after looking at the cheat sheet, is determine whether or not volatility is going to go up or down. Does that make sense, guys? So rewrite that out. Step one, high exposure strikes. Break it down for you guys so you guys can write this down. If you guys aren't taking notes and shit, good luck. I mean, yeah, good luck. That's all I got for you. Second step is, are they at peak? Peak question mark, right? Step three is above, below, below, in correlation with pause or negative, right? Step four is G sheet. Step five is determine vol, right? Boom. Pretty simple. Things to mark on your chart now, right? As for the actual chart itself, where is this button? Here we go. As for the chart itself, right? When looking at the chart, you want to mark the high exposure levels. So like this, right? I have a feeling tomorrow we may have a chance where 49.75 vol plays a role, right? This one. So what you do, go back here, let's clear this, go back to SPX, right? Go to your chart, reset it, zoom in, find that 75 level. You can mark it on your chart, boom. And then for this example, it is what? Positive. Positive, obviously it's below spot price, right? Next step is IV up, IV down, right? What does it do on each? So with positive on up below, we open up the cheat sheet, desktop, miscellaneous, WhatsApp image. All right, it's right here. It's positive on a below spot price, right? Positive below, IV up is a magnet. IV up, magnet, meaning dealers will sell, right? We'll do an equal sign, equals, oh shit, equals sell. This is a repellent, meaning dealers will buy, right? How does that affect us? Obviously, let's say, I don't know what the delta is, but let's just say, for example, it's at 0.15, right? Now, let's say market kind of trickles down back to right here. Let's say this 85 level. And now let's say when it hits this 85 level, this delta is at 0.2, meaning it has just hit its peak, right? Now, what's the next step? Determine, well, we already went through positive, right? We have the cheat sheet. The next step is determine whether or not, since it is at its peak, positive below, right? We nailed that one. Next step is, what is vol going to do, right? At this point, right here. If IV goes up, right? IV plus, if IV goes up, then dealers will sell down, meaning it will go down this way more, right? Does that make sense? And then we'll change the color. We'll do green. If IV down, right? What happens? Dealers will start buying this back up, right? Simple. Make sure you take advantage of the cheat sheet. Mark it on your chart so you don't have to flip back and forth, right? Remember, marking it on your chart is always going to be easier instead of having to go back and forth and look at that shit. Does it act like as a repellent since the market is open, or it becomes a repellent when SPX price comes close to volume level you marked on? I would mostly watch SPX levels. Like when it opens, give it time to settle. Once it settles, mark it on your chart, right? Exactly as we did this morning. We waited for it to stop flipping back and forth, then we mark those GEX levels. You can do the same thing with Vanna levels. Just mark it on your chart, right? I personally don't bother at all with aftermarket or after hours data. Literally don't bother looking at it for me personally. I don't trade at night usually. Um, so it's not that you can't, but I just don't. Does this make sense so far, everyone? Oh, I just realized I drew it with this. How do I change the color? Oh, right here. Wow, that's an ugly ass green. Right. Very simple. We try to use previous days Vana for idea. No, I use the current day. Whatever. This is just the concept drawing. It's not actually what's going to happen, right? Tomorrow, data could change. I always suggest waiting for the open. This is just an example since we have this right here. All right, we try to keep it simple. Kind of makes sense. I'll have to watch this class again to solidify. Yeah, it's a little bit, it's definitely a harder concept to wrap around than obviously support and resistance. But okay, so repellent takes effect instantly when data stops moving back and forth. Hmm. I want to say it just takes effect in general, but if you're basing it off ODTE stuff, right? I would just wait for it to settle. It's not that it doesn't take effect, it's that it's clear when the data settles. That's what I would suggest. Will you be posting a recording of the class? Yes, of course. This one will be posted. And the reason I've been, I've done so many classes. This is the third month of classes, right? So it's come down to the point where I know what needs to be taught, based upon how I use it. So classes are going to be much quicker. So the recordings are much shorter. The points are a lot simpler, and it's to the point. The cheat sheet doesn't say anything about delta being 0.2. Not really critical. Oh no, the delta being at 0.2, someone who knows, please confirm that with him and tell him that it is critical that the point needs to be that the impact is where is most impactful when the deltas are at 0.2 minus 0.2. The cheat sheet is specifically just for the certain scenarios when they hit that 0.2 delta, if that makes sense. Right? Plus minus 0.2. Why am I such a legend? Shit. So I got a Zinnin. But yeah, that's the basis of it. And a lot of the previous classes, they're not as to the point, they're not so cut and dry. So if there's a class to watch, I really believe that it is going to be this one. We've been through it multiple times. However, this one is short and to the point in how to actually read the chart and utilize it. Right? That's the most important. It's like, what's the point of having all this data if you don't even utilize it? When the option delta is 0.2 is when dealers should be hedging, if not, it's got significant, yeah, if it's got significant exposure. Yeah, absolutely dials in. I actually only have two left. I really debated on going back to the office to grab some. The price magnet displayed index is based upon the same concept. It is a mix of Vanna, Gex, and John. Yo, low key, since we stopped like posting about the Apex AI, because it's like it still hits like pretty much every single freaking day. Like today was 5,000. We tapped it towards the end of the day. Yeah, right here. It was 505 for the AOI and 5,000 for the price magnet. 0.2 minus point, either way. So obviously, if it's above spot price, like if the high exposure strike is above spot price, look at calls, right? Because they're going to be out the money. If it's below spot price, look at puts, like the put side of the strike, right? Because obviously each strike is a call and a put. So if it's above spot price, right? If the exposure is above spot price, EXP above, look at the call side. It's easier, right? Then that'll tell you because it'll be out the money. EXP below, but question, please clarify as spot price approaches the level delta will approach 0.5. So the 0.2 delta takes effect before spot price actually gets the AOI. What? Please clarify as spot price approaches the level delta will approach 0.5. So the 0.2 delta takes, this is, you're going to have to clarify that. What do you mean? AOI is for GEX only. At the money spot is 0.5. Yeah. Yeah. At the money spot is 0.5. Correct. But you want to see it's, if when you approach a Vanna level, right? You know how, okay, as I explained earlier, with GEX, it's based upon at the money. So when spot gets to 0.2, not when spot gets to 0.2, it's just the delta of the exposure. So the delta of this exposure, right? This 49.75, when that delta hits 0.2, then its Vanna effect is going to be the strongest. Does that make sense? So we're not, spot price is sitting at 4997, right? We're not at 4975. What do I mean strongest? Like the effect is going to be stronger, meaning there's going to be stronger buys or stronger sells. Like right now where we're sitting, let's say this delta is at 0.15. It's close, but it's still not at the peak. Until we drop lower and this delta picks up to 0.2, right? Because obviously if it's below, you look at puts. If it's above, you look at call delta, right? Just to get the delta specifically. It's not so much like, oh, grab the put. No, it's just specifically looking at the delta to see the impact. To see the impact. Yes, but when 4975 delta is 0.2, spot will be further away from that level. Do you have spot price for me? Or do you have the delta of the 4975 as of right now? If you do, let me know what that number is, and I can give you another theoretical of what the chart is, Robert. I'd like to add an example to make it easy. If you see a descending positive on a staircase from the left to the right, if IV goes down, it's being continuously pushed up. If IV goes up, it can be continuously pulled down. This would be easy. Yeah, very true. Minus 0.32 on that. Okay, so let's clear this. Clear drawings. Okay, so that, why did I do that actually? 4975. Boom. Right. You know, I'm just gonna do this. Damn. Gotta delete this shit one by one. Sorry, 1 second while I delete this garbage. Okay, so now that we are at this point, right? Yeah, but if I remove, oh, it's removed. Oh, but I want to keep this part, right? So we don't have to do that over again. Okay, so it is sitting at minus 0.232. How does this delta get to 0 minus 0.2, right? Meaning stock would have to push slightly up, correct? Right? Everyone understand that? Stock would have to push slightly up for this delta because it has to go a little bit more out the money. Very slightly, the stock pushes up, right? Then as we push up, the delta here, we'll move this up, goes to minus 0.20, right? Now this effect comes in. So at this point, now what? If IV goes up, right? If IV goes up, then dealers will sell, right? We'll keep the red drawing. dealers will sell back down as we get to this point, right? When that delta hits 0.2, next color, green. If IV goes down, what happens? Dealers will start pushing this up with it, right? Dealers will start pushing this up. Keep in mind, one cool thing about this, the easier read scenarios go like this. If IV goes down, obviously the odds are if VIX goes down, IV comes down. SPX will likely push up with it, right? As it goes down. So those are the easier days to read where it kind of falls in line, where it's not just the opposite. Because there are days, and I'm sure people have seen it, where VIX just chops up and down, or it'll follow the same exact trend as SPX, right? Those are the harder days to read, which makes it very, very annoying, especially if you're pushing up and VIX is going up with it. That I personally don't like. Those are the days where I don't really like, right? But these, like a day like this, for if in this example, or this theoretical example, that's where the odds are much, the probability is higher essentially. So that's a better trade with more the conviction. That's the word. All right, does this make sense so far? Right, so obviously, good example, perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So as we just talked about, as we push up, this delta goes to minus 0.2 at 49.75. What happens when we reach this point and it hits this wall, right? Where this wall is, aka where this goes to minus 0.2. We got to follow the cheat sheet. Simple as that. But keep in mind, dealers are not the same as all institutions. So institutions could just yank it back down, but dealers can help. If institutions are buying as we get up there and dealers are also buying, you have also a good chance, right? So just keep that in mind. They're subcategories of one another. It's not, they're not at the same, they're not the exact same. But yeah, this is hopefully this example, you guys kind of understand this concept better. Damn, that's a good example. Shit, son. Do you only use Vanna on ODTE basic or will you aggregate on TL? Like today, I used aggregate. It just depends. Like I have everything linked on my Traderlink. So it's like whatever changes. If I want to see next day's ODTE or next day's aggregate with today, I will also add the Vanna impact. Yeah, you could wait a candle. You could wait a few candles to see who starts winning. That's not a bad idea. I've done it. If you watch on a back or if you watch back on a couple of lives, I think they're all removed from Twitch now that I think about it. Um, but I'll look into like today, I looked at it, nothing of interest in my opinion. But now going into tomorrow, if this data stays, then that will be of interest. This is something I would end up watching. I do it on live. It's just that Vana hasn't been very impactful as of yet. I'm waiting personally, I like waiting for the window of strength. So that would be, wait a minute. Is it the 16th? Is OPEX the 16th this month? During OPEX week, I'll be all over fucking Vana, bro. All over Vana. Yeah, I look at Vana whenever, no, it's not so much based upon closest to spot. I just look for the highest exposures. That's it. Personally, that's how I use it. And if there's the highest exposure, boom. That's what then I'll go into going through this process that I just showed you. Can you show me that on a chart? Yeah, like right here, 49.75. Bigger exposure, right? These little bars don't really give a shit about personally. But a bar like this, 49.75, it's relatively bigger in comparison to the rest of these, right? Obviously 49.50 is huge. So you can mark that on your chart too. But in my opinion, we would have to fall very far down in order for 49.50 to hit that negative 0.2 delta. So it's like understanding the options chain and, through my own experience, how long it takes. Let me see. Uh, Not algo signals, SPX Vana. Here. Perfect. Right. Let's blow this up. Once again, nothing within the 0.2, right? This, too far out. That's 25. This, 50, too far out. Even this is like, even this, if you want to do that one, still too far out. None of them have a 0.2 delta. None of them. The exposure size, right? The only one, in my opinion, that has true meaning. Actually, yeah, that has true meaning is this one. But in order to get this delta at 49.50 to minus 0.2, what do we got to do? We got to come down more, right? Spot price has to go down more. So at that point is just watching, marking it on your chart, monitoring the deltas of each contract, and you're good. Yeah. These Vanna levels, when Vanna is at its strongest during OPEX week, are fucking magnificent. Yeah, this is choppy chop, right? I said in the morning, Gex doesn't look like they're positioned for anything bigger. Same thing with Vanna, right? No exposure strikes at any impactful level. So to me, that's not important for me to watch personally. We got that? Short, to the point, decent examples, look for high exposures. Do those high exposures have a 0.2? What does the market have to do to get to those to get to 0.2, right? Minus 0.2 plus minus 0.2. Same thing. You guys get what I mean though. I would, dude, if I had to take a 0.2% or 0.2 of a Zin, I think I might just shoot myself because I have to cut it open. Bro, I've seen someone cook with, I saw a video, a TikTok of someone cut the Zin open and he cooked it. Like he seasoned his fucking steak with Zin. And I was like, how stupid are people? Like, come on, man. Like, yeah, they're looking to ban Zins, but they can't, they'll never get there, personally. That screenshot, 4,900 is at 0.8. Was too far, right? Huh. Never thought about it being that far in the money. I mostly pay attention to the 0.2s. The 0.8s are just because they're in the money, I think. Someone can confirm or deny that. I'm not exactly sure because since I just watched 0.2. If that's at 0.8, that's pretty fucking wild. If it's at, wait a minute. If that's at 0.8, that could lead to chop. If you go to like VIX, I'm sure that shit was up and down too, right? But yeah, up and down, same shit. You had a big spike, I'm sure, pulled back, whatever. Oh, he's looking at the value on the y-axis. No. That's not delta. That's just the Vanna, the actual exposure of Vanna. No. That's not this is not delta, guys. This is the exposure. Yeah. Do not look at this number. Do not look at this number for the delta. That's not delta. That's the amount of exposure. That's the amount of Vanna exposure. You have to look at the options chain. You have to look at the options strike that you're looking at. So 49.50. Go to TOS on your phone, right? Simple as this. Let me open up my phone. God, I'm not logged into fucking TOS, bro. What even is my password? That's got to be my password. Okay. You go to SPX. Think we can get real-time delta if we hover over. Actually, a really fucking good idea. Let me write that down. Let me write that down. That's huge. That's a really good idea. What the fuck? Real-time delta over when hovering over strikes on module. Ooh, that's a nasty idea. What the fuck? This guy, absolute genius. But yeah, so go here. This is how I do it. No, shit, it's blurred out. Hold on. How do I unblur this? Okay. Go on your TOS, tap SPX, go to the options chain, go to today's date. Is this the 8th? Okay, so we got to go to tomorrow's contract. Tomorrow's contract, 49.75. All you got to do is hover over the ask or hover over the bid. It'll pop up with the data, and the delta's at minus 0.211, right? Do you wait exactly? I give myself like plus 0.01 for wiggle room. Yeah, the decent range. Okay, you can do 0.15, whatever your preference is. I do like +1, +2, or plus 0.01, plus 0.02-ish. I try to look for like 20, 21, 22, 23, 19. Wow, oh, I forgot what's below 19. 18, 17. Yeah. Plus minus 0.03 is okay. That's not too bad. Boom, guys. That's a good class so far. I'm gonna cut the recording so it's not too long.